You can start.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all the active participants in this IIU platform. Let me start about the introduction of International Internship University, or IIU. It is a leading virtual education system and a global brand confederation, which is the most valuable and the trusted brand all around the world, and well reputed in delivering some innovative programs. Globally, it is a trusted name now for quality training programs, and it is committed for providing better and virtual education to all the young learners of the globe, across the globe. So IIU is metamorphosing a conventional education system by cutting down additional costs and providing also access to more than 1,000 plus courses and internships to their e-learners, and of course across the globe, and with the help of its 1,000 plus global educators. So in a short span of time, your IIU has been spreading its wings in 195 countries and across 6 continents under the strong leadership of its visionary founder, Mr. Piyush Pandit sir. So with this, let me start with the topic. Today's topic is authorship, etiquette, and collaboration. So 3 important topics, and we have been seeing these days people going for authorship, second position, third position available. So let us discuss out how can you exchange authorship with money. So this is where we thought that we should have a program that how to set our authorship, what should be my author position in my paper, and how should you collaborate, how should you give preference to your collaborators, and what type of contribution that you have, and what type of etiquettes that you are going to maintain in this particular platform. So myself, Dr. Souvik Ganguli, I am serving as an assistant professor in the Department of Electrical and Instrumentation Engineering at Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology in Patiala. I had been associated with different online platforms delivering lectures, and with this thing, I thought that I should have a discussion on this important aspect, that how will you decide your authorship number, how will you go about with your article, or how will you collaborate, and all those stuff will be discussed in the next 1 hour session. So basically, this is our publication journey. First of all, we should conduct our research, we should secure some funding, we should write our article, submit in some journal through some online portal. There is a peer review taking place, anonymous sometimes, single blinded review or double blinded review as well. And we go in for revisions, resubmission sometimes, and also luckily we get some acceptance as well in the process. And then it is being published online. Then we have the print version of the paper available. And of course, we also need to sometimes promote our article through various social media platforms. We discuss the concepts that we develop. Sometimes we share the course through GitHub or other associated platforms. And of course, this process goes on. That's why I have written last at the end, resubmit. So this process is basically process of a publication journey that we are supposed to do here. So in this publication journey, one of the crucial role that we are playing is that of an author. So whom do you give authorship, or what is the definition for authorship in a journal or a conference publication? So one that is going to make a substantial contribution. So whom we will call as developing the concept, doing or designing the work, proposing some experimentation, and of course analysis and interpretation of data. There may be several authors involved in the process. Sometimes We are writing papers with the help of journal articles we are publishing with the help of students, our research scholars, sometimes our collaborators in India and abroad. And also it involves sometimes the drafting of the article, revision of the article, or revising a particular article critically for its intellectual content. And we finally approve the version that has to be published. So author has also role to approve the version that has to be published, or once it is accepted, after that it goes through the proofreading process and then the version is to be accepted. So this is how we go about it. And one that has actively participated in the work to take the public responsibility for appropriate portions of the content. So of course, your author should not only make a substantial contribution to the development of the concept, to the design of the project, the acquisition, analysis, as well as interpretation of the data, and also sufficiently contribute to the drafting of the work, some appropriate portions that he has to own or she has to own responsibility of it. And of course, all others will be listed, those who are involved in sometimes checking the grammatical mistakes or checking, providing funding, the funding organization, that should come under the acknowledgement section and not under the authorship section. Say, for example, I am doing a project with some government funded organization, and of course, I am claiming they should not claim for the authorship. They should claim for the acknowledgement of the project or the funding, or at least the number that has been assigned to the project or something of that sort. So of course, two key points or two takeaways from the authorship concept. It's a substantial contribution to the concept and the design of the work, the acquisition of data, analysis of the data, and finally interpreting it, and one that has actively participated in the work to take the public responsibility. These are the major highlights of an authorship. Now, what are the things that have to be considered by an author? Expertise, of course, the field expertise or the domain expertise that we talk about. When you talk about credibility, how much credit that we give. Say, for example, if it is a work of a research scholar, and if he or she is proposing any work and trying to deliver in a conference or trying to submit in a journal, his credibility will be maximum. So effectively, he or she will be the first author. And of course, the supervisors or the mentors will be the second or the third authors. If there are multiple mentors involved, of course, you can give credibility to them as well, depending upon who is the senior or who is the main supervisor, who is the co-supervisor, likewise. Those are the other deciding factors. But of course, another important part, what is the originality of the research? Sometimes we always forget. We talk about the credibility, we talk about the domain expertise, but we never talk about the originality of research. So who is able to develop the concept of research, right? So what is the significance of that particular research contribution? What is the novel contribution of that particular research work? And what is the quality of that particular manuscript that we are preparing? So authorship carries with all these features like expertise, like credibility, talking about the originality of the work, talking about the significance of the research, and finally the quality of the manuscript. So these are the things that we must also consider along with the authorship of an article. Whom should you acknowledge? If there has been some funding, there has been some data which has been made use of, any connected data, provided or cared for the study patient. Say, for example, if it deals with some healthcare application, if the work is involving some patients or any animal has been involved or not, so you can acknowledge that also. You have used any lab facilities somewhere in your collaboration, in your research group, definitely you can acknowledge. General supervision of the research group. Say, for example, I am the research head of a particular control research group or something of that sort. So if I am not contributing to the actual drafting of the paper or development of concept or the acquisition of data or experimentation process, design of the experiment process, etc. So I can also be a supervisor. So you can acknowledge me as a supervisor of my research group. Providing technical editing of the manuscript. So this is also equally important. Some all may not be native speakers of English. So I am from a non-native English-speaking country. So of course I can take some technical editing. Some help is required, or some service I have taken for grammatical mistakes, for the punctuation mistakes, or something of that sort. Any other technical issues that you have taken help. Let's say, for example, there was an experimental setup which is available in our institute, but I am not having the ownership of that particular laboratory. Right? So of course I can work in that laboratory and acknowledge the particular work if it involves technically. So these type of acknowledgements that you can always give. Now comes, why should we collaborate, right? It's not about lowering our value or credibility. Sometimes we require some support. Say, for example, I am working in an interdisciplinary team. Say, for example, some X-person is having expertise on IoT. Myself is having an expertise on control system. Somebody else is having an expertise on the instrumentation part. Somebody is expert in the algorithm design or something of that sort. So of course you have to value all and you have to give credit to all. So that's why comes the actual collaboration, where you give support, where we promote and we use our expertise, we use our experience at certain times, and of course in the process we develop some relationship amongst them. So there are several types of collaborations that are possible. It can be collaboration between your research scholars as well. It can be some collaborations with some other countries, some other research labs, or some interdisciplinary teams as well. So these are different methods by virtue of which we can collaborate as well. So there should be some caution regarding that all authors have agreed upon to be listed on the publication. So this is equally important. Outline their roles and expectation before the start of your research project, before the start of writing the manuscript. You must always understand the roles and the expectations out of that particular publication. This must facilitate some clear communication between the collaborators, between the researchers, between the interdisciplinary teams as well. So you have to maintain some consistent tone and voice for the article. So of course, ensure that all authors embrace the academic integrity in current as well as the present work, right? So definitely some consent must be provided by all the contributing authors. So whoever is collaborating, whoever is undergoing research together, it may be two supervisors working on a particular research scholar as well. So there should be a proper understanding between the collaborators, between the different authors, to agree upon and what has to be listed in the publication. The expectations and the roles must be justified, and academic integrity must be maintained. So of course, a consent of course must be provided by all the contributing authors, and it is not only the sole responsibility of the corresponding author only to give consent, but sometimes it can be provided by all the contributing authors in their collaborative work. Now there is something which we call as etiquette. So what are the different types of things that come under the section of etiquette? Let me discuss now. And we have to be respectful of all authors which are cited and to the persons to whom you are referring as well. So you will bring about a positive criticism, I should say, and it can be a constructive criticism of the earlier works that has been cited or that has been reported. It is not a destructive destructive feedback or literature survey that can you are disrespecting any author whomever you are citing or whom you are referring. Do not reveal any personal information about the persons that is mentioned that is damaging or hurtful as well. So of course you should not reveal in your work, be it qualitative, be it quantitative research. So no personal information or no personal attack should be there. And we must always follow the instructions to the author. So whatever instructions that are there, we must go through. All the authors, even not only the corresponding author, but all the contributing authors can go through the instructions given to the authors, read them, and be absolutely thorough before drafting the manuscript. And they must also return the revisions in time, and of course page proof requests on time as well. So of course if you are asked to submit some major revision or minor revision, you work on the comments that have been provided by the anonymous reviewers, and after that you can later on, when the article is accepted, we can also proofread that particular article and also send them back to the editorial office in stipulated time being provided. It's a good practice and good to maintain a healthy relation between the editorial office as well. Apart from that, you must address the queries raised by the different reviewers to the best of our ability. Also, this is also an equally important aspect that we talk about, that we must address each and every query that are there, and try to address all the reviewer responses in the stipulated time. So this are what we call as etiquette involved in my today's discussion. Now, another thing comes is about the ethics and responsibility that are there. Okay, so we must also understand that when we are submitting to a particular journal, we must submit a single paper to a single journal, not sending a particular article to different journals. Okay, it's not that we can cross check, let me see how much time does it take for the editorial office to send for review, and let us send some duplicate publication. So this of course should be avoided. Observe the copyright features and other necessary permissions that are required for the work. Of course, ensure that your work is original and written by the author team only. So nowadays there is a possibility that is cropping up that every student is trying to make use of ChatGPT or other AI tools that are available to write their manuscript. So this is a malpractice. This should be avoided. Of course, there are plagiarism tools that are able to detect that this has been framed by the AI tool. And of course, there are some red marks being assigned to that particular portions, but still it is not a good practice. You must ensure that your authors or your research scholars are writing the original text, and immediately after your research scholars or your students are trying to send you a draft, you must always cross check through the plagiarism softwares. Ensure that your data and images they are original in nature. And of course, you must also clearly disclose that whether there is any conflict of interest, there is any funding been involved, and of course, you must stick to the research ethics, especially when you have some human participants or when some animals are also. Ethical approvals may be required for your research domain as well. Now, there are several types of disputes that we may come across while we are having the authorship. Some may be pre-publication disputes, some may be post-publication disputes as well. How to decide on the disputes and how to check for how to tackle all those aspects? Let me go step by step. First of all, we must go through the authorship guidelines. That of course we must take the help or consult by authorship guidelines to get a absolute clear picture about that whom you should call it an author? How would you decide the order of the authorship? How would you identify the core problems and the possible solutions? How to report to the journal editor if there is some permission issues? So these are the things that of course are there before you are publishing any article. If you want to include any additional contributors, so it must be mentioned to the uh, editorial team, or the chief editor, or the associate editor, or the handling editor, whoever is dealing with your paper. So if any additional contributors are there involved in your research, give appropriate justification, and also discuss with your institution to mediate the issue if it is such a issue regarding the order of the authorship, regarding inclusion or exclusion of any name from the author list, and also of course to contact the journal editor or the publisher before we pause for the possible submission. So these type of disputes can of course take place dealing with several authors. Preferably I use the concept of only research scholars and the supervisors and the co-supervisors being involved in mostly all my publications. There are some collaborations from outside, but those are mainly from expertise that they had in their own domain as well. Mostly it's by my UG students, it's mostly by my PG students as well, and of course my research scholars who are pursuing PhD under my supervision as well. So these are the things that you need to decide upon and try to resolve upon when you have multiple authors, and when you want to decide the author position, and when you have collaborators from different countries. So these type of pre-publication disputes or this type of post-publication disputes can always occur. Now, what kind of disputes that we are expecting to have when it comes to the post-publication? So you must also go through some of the authorship guidelines and the journal requirements. You must go through the aim and scope of the journal in which you are submitting. Your institution can be contact your institution to determine if the authorship contributions are appropriate or not. So for example, you have not used any names, any additional names from your institute just to get a favor out of him or her. So these sort of things are coming up these days, and it has been menacing due to the COVID times, and people are trying to find out, or researchers have been trying to find out some shortcut ways to publish research articles, but it is very much a malpractice that we are observing these days in Facebooks, in other social media platforms, that so much so you have to pay for getting second author, third author, so and so amount. So these type of things are taking place. This will deteriorate the conditions of the quality of the publication, the originality of the research work, and you may not be able to know your exact what you have done in your work, because you will not be able to defend properly your work if these type of activities have been carried out with your research. So you may contact your journal editor and the publisher as well to inform them if there is any dispute related to data or related to any material, or sometimes the ownership of those data or ownership of those materials. As well, request the institution contacts or publisher once the investigation is complete and the author byline needs to be modified. So if you need to change the authorship, need to change the order position of the authors. Likewise, if you want to add or remove or exclude, definitely you can get in touch with the publisher, get in touch with the journal editor to settle out this post-publication disputes as well. Name change policy. This is also interesting. I'll talk about that. By any reason, say for example, if you are having a marriage, if your surname is changed, that's as we often do in our case in India, and somebody getting divorced. So of course there can be changes which lead to some gender affirmation, of course, some religious conversion is taking place. So definitely some reason must be there. Post publication name and pre publication name can be different. So of course uh, you can report to the journal editor to take the corresponding action. This is another important aspect that you may often come across. We are fortunate, but my co-author has died, and after that we submitted the paper before it was accepted. And can the article be still published? So of course, the journal will take a modified form for its use, and one of the co-authors has died. Of course, if the author was alive when it was submitted, we have some implied consent that must be required from the publication. We experienced this type of problem when we were submitting one paper, when we had submitted long back some paper in some edited books, and in those, one of those editors died of COVID, and due to which there was a delay. So we also experienced these type of problems because he was holding the corresponding position to the publisher. So other editors were not having the access of their mail, and of course it is a COVID time. So definitely this problem was there. Our co-authors died before we submitted the manuscript, but can I submit now the manuscript? Of course, you can inquire that their family agrees for the publication, their successors, they agree for the publication, and you have the documentation ready that illustrates the role of each author in preparing your manuscript. Then of course we can go ahead for, and of course they can provide some documentation of the deceased person's intent to publish that particular article. So these type of weird things do sometimes happen, but still you may think of these type of things very unfortunate, but still these things may take place. You may have your marriage where the surnames of usually the girls change out here in India, in Indian scenario. So of course this is also a concern without looking at the other things, but this can be a concern. Even divorce takes place. So of course, once again, some changes that may take place. So this has to be reported immediately to the editorial office for necessary action. So once again, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk after a long time. It has almost been close to 5-6 months that I have not reported to IIU platform, and we thought that we should have a discussion on these type of topic that is of course equally essential for us to know about this particular authorship. How will you settle down your authorship? How will you what are the different etiquettes that you must know, and what are the ethical issues that you may come across? And after that, talking about collaborations and when and why do we collaborate, what is the requirement of the collaboration, what is the requirement of understanding these type of things, like what is the role of our collaborators, whether they are actually contributing or they are dummy authors as well. So how to decide on the authorship? We can call it that mostly if it has got 2 supervisors and 1 student being involved in a research project, of course the corresponding author or should be the main supervisor, preferably. Third author should be the main supervisor, who is definitely looking after the concept design and the entire work. And of course a co-supervisor can come in between and play its major role in interacting directly with the scholar, and of course a scholar's name, because he or she is the inventor of the idea. So of course he or she will take the first authorship. So this is how we go upon. But there are, of course, you find that in a research article there are several authors being involved. So that is also sometimes very hard to say that what have they contributed. And there are some other issues, like say for example, you have seen so many Chinese names almost with similar surnames, and almost 20 to 25% of the Chinese population, they are having those type of surnames, and those things can be taken off by use of ORCID ID or DOI or whatever way you can come across. Scopus IDs are also there. So these type of research activities, they go on, and they definitely are associated with some sort of things, but it's quite unfortunate that we are sitting in a place which one of the, I should say, one of the prominent researchers which we have seen in different national levels and uh, institutes of eminence in India as well. But still, there are persons who are dishonestly using or making it a profession that I'll write the paper for you, give me so and so amount and something of that sort, and are also falling prey to that. It's quite unfortunate as well. The research cannot go on, a quality research cannot go on like this. So you have to come up with new ideas, you have to come up with some new concepts, you have to work upon some new areas of research, identify the research gaps, and then only you can be one of the authors. So of course, author contribution is equally important, and there are some certain journals who are offering these at this point of time, who are offering some sort of contribution, because we when my first research scholar, she graduated or she completed her PhD work, we experienced this sort of thing, that what is the author contribution of first author, second author, and third author. Although we are supervisors, but what kind of contribution that we can which we have provided in a particular research article or in the manuscript preparation as well, not only the experimental work. So these type of things do happen, but at the same time, you must understand that how should you decide your authors. You should talk in between. You can have some sessions, some online or offline sessions, some collaborative sessions. Talk to your collaborators, what will contribute in that project, or what I'll contribute in my project. Likewise, you can decide upon the roles and the individual sections that you are contributing to your research manuscript as well. So this is the way that we go about, and of course we must understand the ethics of the work, the consent that is required for the publisher to also take the way ahead, so that of course there are additions, deletions, change of name, or so and so involved in different authorship, and that can be sorted out by writing in appropriate time to the journal editor and the publisher as well. So that's all I need to contribute, I need to say about today's session. Over to you, Nada ma'am, for any questions, any queries that may have popped out. And I don't have the access of the Facebook right now, so of course there can be some queries which we can handle at the same time. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving me the opportunity to talk over such a wonderful audience.
Professor, only the great comments. So you can see later. They are very satisfied with your great session. Thank you. Thank you so much, our great Dr. Souvik Ganguli. So for a few days, you will have an opportunity again to listen our great Dr. Souvik. Thank you. Thank you, our lovely audience. Thank you for being with us. Continue supporting us. Thank you, Dr. Souvik.
Welcome, ma'am.